Hello, this is the tournament review for the Guardian Games cEDH tournament, 57 players on Sunday the 2nd of August, 2025. It was a good one. Most notably, there was no wild, crazy player behavior of note. Normally, that's like a significant portion of these videos, but everybody was, as far as I can tell, well behaved. Commendable, respectable cEDH players. That was fantastic to see. So let's keep that up. Not that I want to be nagging about that like every single video. I don't want to be like the etiquette police over at the cEDH tournaments, but at least there was like no thrown cards, tossed chairs, judge intimidation, that kind of stuff. So what happened? Taylor took the tournament. He beat me round two. That's definitely cool to see. Round one, I ran into Clay, who won the tournament last month, and I got a win there, which we'll talk about. Round three for me, I got a draw against some very good players. Again, they were incentivized to draw to lock in their slots. I'm familiar with all three of those players. Another one had to take the win, and we were forced and we forced him into a draw. And then, unfortunately, so I had one win, one loss, one draw, and then going into round four, if I won that one, I would have been able to make the top 10 cut, but I had family in town, and I was sitting there like, okay, I have to win this next game. A draw won't do it. And I've got stuff that I'm going to be missing out on. So I bailed out, which feels really bad. So we're only going to talk about the first three games. But Taylor, again, on Kefka, we'll talk about that game against him. Round two, he ended up winning the tournament with like 16 points or something like that, I believe. Maybe it was more than that. I should go check. But he was the winner there. So congrats to him. Again, playing Kefka. All right. So game one, how did I approach that? I'm seat three, and we've got Clay on Derevi in seat one, and then two players that I'm not familiar with, but they seem to know what they're doing. The last game that I played before this tournament was in the league against Clay, who won, as he does pretty consistently. He's a solid player, and you should also go check out his content. He has the Bird Brain podcast where he goes and talks about Derevi. It's good stuff. Good stuff. How did I approach that? So pre-game politics. It's like, what can you do? Just make it clear, like, hey, oh my goodness, it's Clay in first seed. Good to see you. Hi, lost to you yesterday. I'm on a losing streak. I'm doing bad in the league. You're doing good in the league. Just all that stuff, because it's factual, and that is how I'm feeling in the moment. And just making that clear to the other players, like, yeah, dude, I'm over here on Urza, who's been losing, and this is the guy that won the tournament last time. And those politics manifested themselves in a really unusual way in the first rotation. Clay put out some stuff and goes for a vamp tutor. No, so I don't think he puts out anything. I think he just puts out a dork, and then there's a guy with in fourth seat with just a land and a lotus petal, and he uses his land to hit Clay's vamp tutor. I believe it was the first rotation. Like, so nothing's happened. And I'm sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, did he put anything out? No, I think Clay literally just land passed, was going for the vamp, and got swan songed by this dude. And I asked him about that player. It was the only play after the game. I really don't like post-game talk. I talk about that all the time. But this was a confusing enough swan song where I'm like, dude, talk to me about that swan song. And he's like, it was impulsive, I guess. I got scared. I attributed it 100% to politics, and I talked to Clay about that, and I believe that he agrees. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but from what I remember, we had a little post-game chat, and I was like, dude, what's up with that swan song? Was it politics related? And I believe he did agree that that's what it was. So, and I kind of attribute my win in that game to that piece of interaction, because like that's a lot of pressure that Clay would have been able to apply if he had gotten that tutor through that he didn't have, and that would be one more piece of interaction that I did have to deal with. Clay again did have a interaction heavy hand, and that's what I had to work through. I think it was turn 3 or 4 that I busted through with a basalt combo that he dealt with, but then I had enough cracked cards in hand. I had the Forge, I had the Reducer, and I had the Top Deck Caster, and so just drew library there after casting enough cards off the Forge, got the Aetherflux out, and had the loop. It was pretty sweet. Can't complain about that. So that's how round one went. A little bit of pregame politicking, having a combo, getting it stopped, and then having another one. So a little combination of, I don't know, skill, if you want to say that, and luck. I had a really great first seven. I kept first seven because I had, again, Mystic Forge at top, and then I think a prize statue and a bunch of lands. And I'm like, okay, that's enough for me to get where I need to go. And it was. So going into game two, okay, how did I approach that? I'm dealing with Taylor in seat 4. I'm in seat 1. The other two players, again, seem to know what they're doing. I'm not super familiar or concerned about them. Taylor's on Kefka. Notorious guy. He goes on to win this tournament. Great player. Can't take your eye off him for a moment. Like, so how do I approach it? I fabricate for a Soul Guide Lantern, try and shut down his graveyard. I'm going kind of slow. I get construct beats going, and I'm putting on the pressure on his life total. Like, he's got one rotation, and then I've got the Urza out with 2 constructs that won't be summoning sick, and they're coming in for the last like 14, 15 to take him out. They've been swinging. And then assuming I can get, he has like 22 life because I've been swinging. They're presenting like 14, 15. I just need to cast a couple artifacts, get him beefed up, and send him through. So so the pressure's on. He's scrambling to try and find an out here. I've shut down the graveyards. We've got the other 2 guys kind of on board looking at him, a Savala, and I can't remember what the other one was. But what ends up happening from the 4th seat, he casts his Kefka. We all pitch. He draws some cards. He gambles, gets the other half of his Thoracle combo, and then just pushes it through. And reverse Thoracle's on us. So drops Thoracle first. Another person responds with the silence. He responds with the demonic. And that's it. That was that. It was well played, man. He had this tiniest little window. He had the Hail Mary. He had such a few amount of cards in hand that the gamble was a true gamble. He needed to hit the right one. One piece of interaction that wasn't a mistimed silence or I mean, what else do you do with the silence there? It was what it was. Would have stopped him, but yeah, man, it was just well played. Kefka's a strong commander. Can't take your eye off that dude for a second. Went on to win the tournament. Well played. Good stuff. Can't be mad about that. I adjusted for it as well as I could. I set up the game plan. I put down the stacks, got the beats, started to politic the other guys and make sure that they weren't about to pop off and that we were holding up because they could see the clock ticking down on that guy. But he pushed it through, and we're talking like turn 3. That's when all these things are ending, like turn 3, turn 4. Turn 5 is a dream these days, dude. Turn 6 is like unheard of. These games that are going to draw like turn 4 or 5, maybe sometimes earlier. Like, you're not getting these individual turns are long. Interesting note about round 2, as I was looking around after that thing wrapped up. Again, that wrapped up pretty early. It was a maybe 20, 30, 25, 30 minute game at the most. Everyone was still playing. So after round 1, that game wrapped up, and there was like 2 pods maybe that were dragging us out and going to time, and then they have a 20-minute extension for the last turn, and so we're doing that. There was only like 1, maybe 2 pods that were in that process. After round 2, I left, I came back, and everyone was still playing. Like, the timer was at 12 minutes for the round, and I'm looking around, I'm like, this is a full room of people playing cEDH. There's not too many people wandering around having finished games like myself. That was odd, and I thought about that in the moment, and I'm like, okay, well, the people that won their first round are probably working towards draws just to secure points, and I guess the good players that won, like, okay, so round one finishes quickly because the good players just launch on those guys, wrap it up in the first couple of turns. There's not a lot of politicking going on. And then second round, those guys all get matched up together and those games go long. Mine looked like it was going to go long. Mine looked like it was going to go long, but Taylor's Taylor, Gamble's Gamble, game's game. And so I think a lot of others did. And then the players that all got beat, they're all matched up against each other. That's more of an even game. And so those games kind of go long. All the shredders that won round one have kind of been taken out, right, of that mix. I think that's kind of how it goes. I think that that's why you'd find round one wrapping up so much more quickly than round two. Like as a whole, 57 players, a lot of different games, and I'm telling you, it was the difference between like nobody playing and everybody playing. So that's the theory about that. Game three. Oh man. Well, game three was against another player that I know pretty well. Plays Malcolm, and then we've got an Oswald player that I got stacked out by in a previous tournament by a turn one Trinisphere, and he took the game there. And then we've got another person that I play in with the league, also a very decent player. Okay, so it's like I've got three guys that I know. One of them took a bye, and then won his game. So he had 10 points going into that. That's huge. So he took a bye, got the 5, won his next game going into round 3. He's incentivized to just take a draw, secure his spot in that top cut. Same situation for the other gentleman over there, except he just won his first 2 games. Oswald, good player. And then we've got Nate, who's at 2 draws in order to make the top cut and not like bubble. Like he's got to win this game. And hopefully the next one and maybe get a draw. So he needs to get a win and a draw out of this. And then I'm in the position where I've got 1 win. So I'm sitting on 5 points, and in the next 2 games, I basically just need to get a win and a draw. So it's like if I can get a draw out of this game and then win the next one, or win this one and get a draw, and maybe if the draw doesn't happen, I'm on the bubble and don't make it. So it's like I'm really shooting for the win and the draw here. So it's like round 3 is a really critical one for player incentive. And we're all good enough players that we kind of talked about it beforehand. The other 2 are like, yeah, we're incentivized to take a draw. I'm sitting over here. I'm like, I kind of need a win and a draw. So it's like, I'm just going to play this as sort of a normal game. Like I'm not kind of angle shooting too hard based on that. And then we've got Nate, who's like, I need points. I need to win. And so it ended up basically Oswald stacksing people out. I'm having to tutor for stacks, which shut down the Oswald's win attempt. Soul Guide Lantern. Let's talk about that card for a minute, just as an aside. Overperformed. I tutored for it 3 games in a row. Yeah, I think like literally all 3 games, I tutored for a Soul Guide Lantern that overperformed. Yeah, all 3 of those games. It just happened like that. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't like a thing I wanted to do. It was just like, yeah, at this point in the game, Soul Guide Lantern's going to extend this, so I get another turn. Fabricate, Soul Guide. And this one was through a Trinisphere. I had 6 mana, so it was like 3 mana for the Fabricate, 3 mana for the Soul Guide Lantern, and then that was ultimately what. I mean, because it's kind of shutting down breach lines over here. It's shutting breach lines down over there. Oswald does graveyard shenanigans over there. He was letting me know that shut him down over there. So it's like, it was so good. And then we just kind of politicked it into a draw with Nate where like, and the other player, Nick over here, he was like, dude, is this a messed up thing that we're doing to you? Like, Nate, you play a lot of tournaments. We're kind of like 3 of you wanting you here purposefully. Like, is that messed up? And he was like, well, like I can call the judge and we can go through the thing. We can call it collusion or whatever, but ultimately it doesn't change the incentive structure. And like, it's the same result. Like the game theory still holds up. And that was almost not word for word what he said, but that was the sentiment. And that kind of sucks and is worth talking about from a tournament perspective. Like it seemed to affect like the integrity of the competitive format, that the points that we had going into the round were determining game actions in such a heavy way. But I don't see a way around it. I don't see a way around it. And I think that that was kind of Nate's thing as well, and why, like, he was putting up heat. Um, he was in seat one. He was, I believe, in he was putting up a lot of attempts and was just getting shut down and stacked out. And then eventually, it came to a situation where Oswald's like, okay, I won't stop you, Malcolm, and you can put up a win attempt and then offer the draw. And that's what happened. The win attempt was put up by the Malcolm, and the draw was offered in the understanding that, yeah, we wouldn't stop that. So feels skeevy, but I needed that draw. And then again, like I said afterward, going into that fourth game, I needed to win it at that point in order to hit 11 points and then be in that top cut and then play and then compete for that. But family in town didn't do that. Sorry, that sucks. So, lessons about this: graveyard hate goes hard. Politic the good players pregame because it pays off. The good players are the good players for a reason. Even if you focus on them, they still might win. And Urza overall doing better. There was another Urza dude that was there. He was playing the mid range version. I believe his record was. I don't think he got any wins. I think he got one or two draws. So, I mean, draw what conclusions that you want from that, but I think Urza Storm's doing all right. I think that the control package that was implemented is overperforming uh, relative to their presence, in the deck. It's not like I have a lot of control pieces, but like when they do come out, they've got super high impact, and that's nice. I think it's like the perfect amount of interaction. I think everybody's kind of in that same spot where it's like nobody's loaded up. There's not huge stack battles, but everybody's got just enough where it's like critical moment, I got a thing. And it's for a long time, I just kind of didn't have that. And so that led to bad situations where it's like, I don't have any leverage. I can't politic. And now I have a little bit of leverage and now I can politic. And so maybe not overperforming. They're just performing as intended. That's a better way to put it. Okay. That's the quick tournament review. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.